I should have known something was wrong the moment I stepped into the church and saw how packed it was. 75 people sitting there quietly, all invited by my mom without even asking me. Like this wasn't my baby's christening, but some kind of staged event she was hosting. Your one click can keep these stories alive. Subscribe, because every voice deserves to be heard. I felt out of place instantly, holding my baby tighter as whispers started moving through the crowd. People I barely even knew staring at me like they already had an opinion formed. And then my mom stood up with this calm, confident smile that didn't feel warm at all, and in front of everyone she said, "She's not ready to be a mother. I've been taking care of that baby more than she has." And I felt my stomach drop, because it wasn't just the words, it was the way people believed her without asking me anything, the way their eyes shifted like I was already guilty. And when she slowly reached for my baby and said, "It's better if I handle this," I froze, not because I agreed, but because I realized in that moment this wasn't just a family gathering anymore. It was something much deeper. And I stayed silent, but inside, something in me completely changed. She reached for my baby like I wasn't even standing there, like I was just some temporary figure in the background of her perfect story. And for a second, I actually thought I might break, but instead something strange happened inside me, a kind of calm I had never felt before, because I remembered why I hadn't reacted for days, why I had been quiet even when she started telling people I was unfit to be a mother. I slowly looked up at her, still holding my baby close, and said nothing at first, just watching her continue her performance in front of everyone. And she even smiled at the crowd like she was winning something, like she had already taken everything from me, until finally she said again, louder this time, she can't even take care of her own child properly. And that was when I gently stepped forward, not angry, not shaking, just steady, and said, "Mom, are you sure you want to say that in front of all these people?" And the room went quieter, but she didn't stop. She doubled down, saying, "I've been protecting this child from your irresponsibility." And a few people actually nodded, which made my chest tighten, but I still didn't raise my voice because I knew something she didn't know, something I had been holding on to quietly for weeks, and I turned slightly toward the front row where her closest friends were sitting and said, "Since everyone is already here, maybe it's time we clear something up." And I reached into my bag and pulled out a small folder. That suddenly made her smile fade just a little, and I saw it, that flicker of doubt in her eyes for the first time that day. But she still tried to laugh it off, saying, "What is this? More excuses?" And I shook my head calmly, opening the folder in front of everyone, and said, "These are hospital discharge papers, parenting records, and supervised visit logs." And the word supervised hit the room like a stone dropping into water, because suddenly people stopped whispering, stopped nodding, and started actually listening. And I continued, still calm, still steady. "You told everyone I'm unfit, but you forgot to mention that every time you took my baby without permission, I had to document it for safety." And now her expression changed completely, her confidence cracking in real time as she tried to interrupt me, saying, "That's not what happened. She's twisting everything." But I didn't stop, because for the first time, I wasn't the one defending myself. I was the one revealing truth. And I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You didn't raise my child, Mom. You tried to replace me." And the silence that followed was so heavy it felt like the whole church had stopped breathing. And I could see people exchanging looks now, not judgment toward me anymore, but confusion, realization, and discomfort shifting toward her. And that's when I added the final part, the thing she never expected me to say in front of all those witnesses. And if you really want to talk about who is unfit, we can also talk about the report I submitted last week. And I watched her face go pale, because in that moment she finally understood I hadn't been reacting to her lies. I had been preparing for them. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't rush. I didn't need to, because everything I had said was already sitting in the room, like a weight no one could ignore. And I could feel the shift completely now. The same people who had been looking at me with doubt were no longer looking at me at all. They were looking at her, waiting, processing, trying to understand how a mother could stand in front of a church and publicly strip her own daughter of dignity like that. She tried to step forward, her voice, suddenly softer, almost desperate now, saying, "This is being misunderstood." I was only trying to help. But it was too late because I gently closed the folder and held my baby closer and said calmly, "No, Mom, you were trying to take over." And that was the moment her expression fully cracked, not with anger anymore, but with fear, because she realized the control she thought she had over the story was gone. And one of her friends finally spoke up quietly from the front row. "Why would you tell everyone she's unfit like that?" And the question hung there, unanswered, as she tried to smile again, but couldn't quite manage it. And I took one step back, not in fear, but in finality, and said, "I didn't come here to fight today. I came here to protect my child from confusion." And then I looked down at my baby for a second and felt something peaceful settle inside me, because I knew I didn't need to convince anyone anymore. The truth had already done its work, and I finally looked back at her and said the last thing she expected in front of everyone: "You don't get to rewrite my role as a mother just because you want control." And then I turned away from her completely, not waiting for a response, not needing closure from her. And as I walked down the aisle holding my child, I could hear the silence behind me turn into quiet murmurs, not about me anymore, but about what they had just witnessed. And in that moment, I understood something very clearly. I didn't lose my place in that room. I just finally took it back.